which is in my hand, A History of Baloch and Balochistan. The problem with Balochistan has been that very few of us know the real facts. The books, the articles, whatever has been being published in our magazines, we don't know who is actually giving us the facts. So this book, when I was reading, it's close to my heart because it's, as I can tell you what's written in it, this is an abridged English translation of an 8-volume book in Urdu, written by direct descendant of the Khan of Qalar. The book records Balochistan's ancient history, the Islamic Empire, Mongol conquest, the advent of the British, and post-partition period in attempts to generate a letter of understanding of the Baloch through historical retrospection, dispelling the characterization of the land and its people. So this is not a textbook, it's a research book. 8 volumes को आप जब मुख्तसर करते हैं तो कुछ चीज़ें तो obviously you're ignoring, but the basic gist is there. और इसके अंदर जो सबसे अच्छी बात है, the good thing about it, that it starts from part 1 is 853 BC to 1547. So those who are interested in history, they have all the material, facts, as much as available. So this is in it. And then the second part in this book is 1547 to 1988. So there's no current situation, but we can have a glimpse of recent history in it. When we turn the pages of history, Islamic history, the rise of Islam in Balochistan is a very important factor, and I personally didn't know that the caliphate of Hazrat Ali radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu has actually left impact on Balochistan a lot compared to other caliphates. And then we come down, the annexation of during the time of British. So Balochistan was a buffer state, and it turned into an annexed part of subcontinent because British were really scared that the regional powers, including Russia and probably Iran, they thought they might try to interfere in it more. So therefore, they made it into an annex it rather than a buffer state. But the question in my mind is, Balochistan has a long history. They had every requisite for being a state. Not now, but before also. And it failed to assert itself as a state. It has population, it has territory, the tribes were pretty sovereign. So what happened? So we'll be talking with a guest here, Dr. Martin. Dr. Martin needs no introduction. He's actually, I call him an expert because I just saw his bio in front of me. He's a political scientist specializing in ethnic national movements in the Indian subcontinent, earned his MA in 1997 and a PhD in 2007. His ongoing research focuses on the Baloch nationalist movement's evolution in Pakistan, emphasizing the role of natural resources in regional conflict. There's a number of other academic qualifications he has, so I'll confine myself to that. Then we have Dr. Naazir Mahmood. Dr. Naazir Mahmood is a columnist, educator, and film critic, and a special interest in history, international relations, and literature. And then we have with us Anwar Sajdi, who is editor-in-chief. Anwar Sajdi Baloch is the full name, right, sir? And his leading newspaper is the Intikhab. So all of you are very warm welcome to the show. So as I said, true history, we come to know only when we read, when we talk, and we come to know through people. So the writer here is Mir Nasir Khan Ahmad Zai Kambarani Baloch, who has been a deputy commissioner, a bureaucrat, and an educator both. So let me broach the subject with you, Martin. As I just said, Balochistan failed to keep up with the transition from kingdom and colonial rule empire to modern national state. failure to assert its national claims. Why do you think it was, or it was never interested, or because it was annexed with the British? Please, the mic. Or you can use mine.
Okay, thank you. Well, actually, I do think the Khanat of Kalad, which existed till 1948, never really was a proper state in the modern sense. It was sort of a proto-state, a Khanat, and like a little kingdom without much of state structure or state function. It was, in a way, created as a state or formed into a state, in fact, by the British, who were very much interested, as you said, to have a number of buffer states between their British Indian Empire and the Russian Empire in the north, always being afraid that the Russians one day might invade the Indian subcontinent. So the Khanat of Kalad, in a way, served a very similar purpose to the British as did Afghanistan at that time. Nevertheless, Baloch national feeling and movement, a Baloch national feeling, in fact, developed in the Khanat even earlier than the Pakistan movement developed in the Indian subcontinent. There were a number of intellectuals in Balochistan in the 1920s and 30s who first came up with the idea of transforming the Khanat into a nation state. So in this respect, the Baloch were actually one of the first people in present-day Pakistan discovering back then a new theory of being a nation and forming nation states.
So, the book says, and I quote, Balochistan have been discovered, explored, and described from the outside as a no man's land, an insignificant periphery, or at best strategic buffer region between imperial powers. Is that what you're saying, actually?
That's correct. I mean, if we look into the thousands of years of history, Balochistan, I think, has always been sort of a no man's land between large imperial powers and forces. And that's exactly the story that Naazir Khan is telling in this book. Okay. It has been influenced by all the states around. Sometimes other powers would exert their influence in Balochistan, but by and large it was a no man's land and a territory where people from all countries and empires around would perhaps seek refuge and find a new home. Okay.
Dr. Naazir, you people are entitled to speak in Urdu or English. There's no issue on that. The audience are mixed, so it's fine. It says in the book, for thousands of years, the defeated, displaced, and desperate have sought shelter and refuge in this no man's land between major imperial centers and found a new home. But the tragedy of modern days, that some of the youths are not in Balochistan. Either they are in Balochistan in the mountains, or they have left Balochistan and taken shelter in Afghanistan or other regions. Is it a new phenomena, or do you think if you turn the pages of history, this sort of movements have been going on in Balochistan?
Well, I think I'll start in English and then I will switch to Urdu also, Martin, if you don't mind. Okay, because the audience is predominantly in favor of Urdu. So I will start in English and then I will switch to Urdu. I think it's a misnomer slightly to call Balochistan a no man's land. Of course, there were people, there were, especially starting from 16th century onwards, there was a functioning kind of whatever state at that time existed, especially under Naazir Khan Noori, that I am talking about from 1750 to 1800. That was the time when Kalat state itself took shape. So the problem with the book is also that, you know, it is called History of the Baloch and Balochistan, but mostly the book talks about Kalat itself. So we need to understand that present day Balochistan is not entirely Kalat state. Kalat state was there, of course, but we had northern Balochistan, British Balochistan, and then...
If anyone has actually read the book here in the audience, but it is sort of the history of the Baloch and Balochistan and the Baloch nation from the very beginning of human mankind. And the main focus of this book is not on the Khanat of Kalat, and definitely not on the past 70 or 80 years.
It's an abridged version of 8 volumes. So
it is an abridged version, yeah. But,
so 8 volumes.
But everyone should keep in mind this book starts 3,000 years before the Common Area.
You have read the book, Dr. Naazir, so yeah.
Hello. I would like to just comment on what he said. He very passionately advocated Balochistan's case, and Balochistan and Baloch people are very close to my heart. I consider, since I am from Karachi, so I consider myself half Sindhi and half Baloch. So what I am going to say, please don't misunderstand it. This I am saying just because of my love to Baloch, pointing out another aspect also.
But confine yourself to the book, please, if you don't mind. Confine yourself to the book.
मैं इस बात का जवाब देना ज़रूरी है क्योंकि वो as he mentioned that most of the book is about older history.
Older and also modern. 400 pages for the modern.
Only last portion is that. In the book also, he has mentioned, I am just referring from the book. The book itself mentions in one of its chapters when it talks about Mir Naazir Khan Noori, who played an important role in the establishment of the state at that time. So on one side we do talk about injustices to Balochistan and Baloch people, but we should also keep in mind that what Baloch people themselves did to themselves and to other people. Naazir Khan Noori was the one who led a campaign in Makran to crush Zikri people. Zikriyon ko marne mein sabse bada hath Mir Naazir Khan Noori ka tha. Is kitab mein likha hai. In this book he details, and the writer himself, he details how Mir Naazir Khan Noori, who of course is a great leader, Naazir Khan Noori, great. But on one side we call him great, and on the other aspect of his personality was that he was crushing his own Baloch people. Buledis he was killing and exterminating, in his own words, exterminating Buledis